Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today is the 17th of August 2021 and the 9th of Muharram al-Haram. And these are the stories that we'll be discussing during the course of the show. We will begin with the significance of the month of Muharram al-Haram, one of the 4 holy months of the Islamic calendar. And we'll also talk about the philosophy of sacrifice, because of 14 centuries ago, on the day of Ashura, the grandson of Hazrat Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Imam Hussain, and his little son were mercilessly killed by a cruel and oppressive ruler in the battle of Karbala. What is the philosophy behind it? Have we learned the sacrifice that happened those 14 centuries ago? This is going to be our leading segment. And then our second story, ladies and gentlemen, of the day is going to be about the latest developments as far as Afghanistan is concerned. A lot of things have happened in the past 24 hours. There have been also numerous telephonic conversations between our Prime Minister Imran Khan and Boris Johnson, as well as Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, about the escalating situation in Afghanistan. Also, our Prime Minister told an Afghan delegation who was here in Pakistan that no country is more desirous of peace in Afghanistan than Pakistan. Also, our Army Chief has said that Pakistan desires a broad-based relationship with Afghanistan. He also was talking to the same Afghan delegation. On the other hand, Taliban have pardoned their rivals and have vowed to honor women while addressing the media, and this was done by Zahibullah Mujahid. This is going to be our second segment. And now let's begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the first story of the day, and that is, of course, the significance of today. That is the 9th of Muharram al-Haram. All the sacrifices that went 14 centuries ago when a troop of Muslims were mercilessly martyred in the Battle of Karbala. Tomorrow is the 10th of Muharram. There will be a lot of processions going on across the country. What is going to happen tomorrow? What are the different controls that have been put into place? More in the following report.
शहीद करबला है ये, रसूल की दुआ है ये, हुसैनो मिन्नी व अना मिनल हुसैन.
The 10th day of Muharram is known as Ashura. Though Muslims spend their time mourning through the whole month of Muharram, Ashura is considered to be the most significant day in this holy month. On this day, Imam Hussain and his family, along with his companions, were martyred. Ashura is the day of mourning and speeches in the remembrance of the martyrdom of Imam Hussain and his family. It is observed across the Muslim world with solemnity every year. On this day, processions are carried out across different cities with thousands in participation to walk long distances in the blazing sun. In Karachi, the procession emerges after a majlis in Nishtar Park just off Muhammad Ali Jinnah Road and culminates at Imam Bargah Hussainiya in Kharadar. Every year on Muharram 9, the central Ashura procession of Lahore, after crossing some of the city's prominent mosques, Imam Bargahs and bazaars, it culminates at the historic Karbala Gamisha on Muharram 10th. In Islamabad, the main Muharram Jalus emerges from the Markazi Imam Bargah in G6 Islamabad. The procession circles around G62, thus completing its routes. In Multan, 2 major Muharram processions take place. Procession of Shias emerge from the shrine of Shah Yusuf Gardes and concludes at the shrine of Shah Sams Sabzwari. Like last year, this year's Ashura processions will be observed while keeping in view the restrictions and precautions of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Now, to talk more about the significance of Muharram al-Haram, of these 2 days, that is the 9th and the 10th of Muharram, and what is the philosophy behind the sacrifices that were given, and what does Hussainiyat mean? We've been joined by Dr. Anis Ahmed. He's a religious scholar. Dr. Saab, thank you very much to have joined us. Dr. Saab, first of all, a lot of people don't understand the exact philosophy of the holy month of Muharram al-Haram. Would you like to elaborate on that?
The Quran talks about 4 months in which fighting is prohibited, and among those is one Muharram. But why we celebrate Muharram on 10th particularly is linked directly with a historic event in which Imam Hussain played the key role. And that's why Ashura, or 10th day of Muharram, has become extremely important for the Muslim Ummah, irrespective of their fiqhi approach. I'm not aware of any so-called Sunni or Shia or anyone who has any difference of opinion on the importance of the event and its impact in history.
All right, sir. Dr. Saab, also, we understand a little bit of what the holy month means, and you've also given us a little elaboration on that. But what is Hussainiyat? What is the whole essence of that? And how can we implement the whole aura, the whole sacrifice, the whole element of the passion that was shown in the Battle of Karbala in today's age?
Thank you very much. I think it's a very important question you have raised. If we look into the historical perspective, then we find that Imam Hussain faced a situation where he had a choice either to make compromise and become an important figure in the political hierarchy, or to stand for a principle and even offer his life for that principle. Very briefly, we find that after Prophet peace be upon him, we have four glorious periods of Khulafa who kept the system on same track which Prophet created. And that was the Islamic State in Medina to be run on principles which were the most modern principles humanity ever discovered, and which have today equal relevance as they had 1,000 years back. Therefore, Imam Hussain, being a perceptive person, a person who could see the future, were fully aware of the fact that if Khilafat has been changed or uh, uh, substituted with a different system where the succession takes place instead of election. Therefore, if we want to understand what's the main philosophy, then we should not forget that the state setup in Medina was based on five principles. First and foremost, that the person, whoever is going to rule the country, has to be elected by the people. Therefore, all four Khulafa were elected by the people of Medina without any consideration of blood relationship, any consideration of how wealthy they were, but a matter of taqwa and how they could run the affairs of the state as Prophet was doing. Secondly, the principle was that of mushawarat or shura, consultation, which means participation of people in decision making. No decisions are made without mutual consultation, and the whoever is the ruler does not have full authority to veto everything, as it is in kingship or dictatorship. Thirdly, it was a matter of not only shura, but a matter of access to people. And therefore, whoever was Khalifa, 5 times a day was visible in the mosque. There were no security guards, there were no prohibitions, specific hours, and therefore accessibility. Next, a matter of full trust in terms of financial transparency. So the Baitul Mal or treasury was not public property. In kingship, the king, when he is pleased, can give a bunch of gold seals to anyone. But in the case of Khilafah, or in case of Islamic system in Medina, it was not a matter of personal property. And lastly, it was a matter of the supremacy of law, that anyone who is ruler or Khalifa has no immunity, he has no superiority, he can be called to law court for any as the person. Now the challenge was that when Yazid was nominated as successor of Hazrat Muawiyah, then the, uh, the alarm bell rang in the mind of Sayyidina Imam, and he knew that if succession is introduced instead of election, then we will be falling in the trap of an ongoing kingdom. And that's what happened actually. If you look into history critically, read Ibn Khaldun, read many of the Muslim historians, and you will find that after Khilafat al-Rashida, the four glorious Khulafa, except Umar bin Abdul Aziz, all were rulers and mostly kings. This was the main fear, main problem due to which Hazrat Imam thought that this is the time when he should come forward, do his best to stop this switch over from Khilafat to monarchy to kingdom to kingship. And for that, he even put his life at stake, and that makes the event extremely important in the history of Islam, political history of Islam, conceptual history of Islam, and religious history of Islam. Because in Islam, religious history is not separate than political history. And therefore, the whole Muslim Ummah for 15 centuries has been celebrating this day as a day of remembrance for the mission and the purpose of Imam Hussain.
All right. Dr. Saab, also this holy month and these 2 days, the 9th and 10th of Muharram, also remind us and give us a lesson of patience, sacrifice, and tolerance as far as all the sacrifices that were rendered by Hazrat Imam Hussain and his family in the Battle of Karbala is concerned. Now, in this day and age, when we are confronted with a lot of challenges, especially within the Muslim Ummah, do you feel that we need to understand from the whole historical perspective of what happened in the Battle of Karbala to take and imbibe all the same virtues that were shown at that time?
You are very correct. Historical events are not there to be just glorified, but we learn lesson from them. And the lesson is that in most critical situation, Hazrat Imam nor his family moved from their principle. They didn't make compromise. They did not submit to the tyrannical approach of the Yazid and others. And at the same time, they did not lose hope and patience. They did not make hue and cry, but they boldly faced the situation, not only men, but even women. The lesson that we must understand is just as the whole family and the whole contingent of Imam Hussain was deprived of certain basic human needs, exactly the same exists in occupied Kashmir in India, Indian occupied Kashmir. There are 8 million people are fully enslaved, practically deprived of their political right, of their freedom, of their businesses, of their liberty, and they are facing it with patience, with confidence, with trust, and hoping that Muslim Ummah and their neighboring Muslim countries will not only support them emotionally by making just prayers for them, but also all kind of pressures need to be used for resolution of their freedom and liberty.
All right, Dr. Saab, also when it concerns us Muslims, us normal practicing Muslims, do you feel the holy month of Muharram al-Haram and these 10 days in particular also serve as a kind of reflection on the kind of lifestyle that we need to follow, on the way we need to treat others around us, and the way we need to follow the teachings of Islam?
Well, the most prominent lesson is that while Hazrat Imam and his contingent is facing test and trial, they are not losing their hope, they are not losing temper, they are not trying to use foul words for the enemy, but they are relating themselves with their Rabb. Their relation with their Rabb continued. They seek help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they depend on their truthfulness and their solidarity. Now that's where lies the lesson, that even when you are facing a huge number of people, a large number of enemies and forces around you, then we need to be well composed, we need to be patient, we need to be fully controlling our emotions, and at the same time not to make any kind of compromise. That applies to individuals, to community, and to the whole nation. I think in our situation, what I see every day is we are a nation which has lost concept of patience, concept of direction, concept of perseverance, and therefore we have not been able to progress as expected. Hazrat Imam's example provides us a modality that how we are going to be united on a mission, how we face odds and difficulties, and how we can relate ourselves with our Rabb in most critical situations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Anis Ahmed Saab, to have given us such a beautiful outlook of what the holy month of Muharram al Haram means to us and what it signifies to us and what we need to make as changes in order to make ourselves better human beings and better Muslims in order to follow what happened in the Battle of Karbala and take it as an example in order to better our everyday lifestyle. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, to have joined us. Ladies and gentlemen, our second segment concerns what is happening in Afghanistan. A lot of developments are very, very rapidly happening in our neighboring country. And of course, Pakistan's efforts are also going forward as far as going for not only a broad-based relationship with Afghanistan, but also seeking peace and stability in Afghanistan. More in the following report.
In the first news conference following its stunning takeover of Afghanistan, the Taliban promised to protect women's rights and press freedom. After instigating lightning advance across Afghanistan that saw major cities fall to the group with minimal resistance, the Taliban has sought to portray itself as more moderate than when it imposed a draconian rule in the late 1990s. Being cognizant of their international portrayal, Zabiullah Mujahid, the group's spokesperson, said at the press conference in Kabul on Tuesday that women are going to be very active in the society but within the framework of Islam. Pressed on how the new Taliban government will differ from the previous one, Mujahid said that the group has evolved and will not take the same actions they did in the past. Furthermore, US military stepped up its airlift for Americans and Afghans fleeing the country after Taliban promised White House that civilians could travel safely to the Kabul airport. Earlier on Tuesday, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, the group's co-founder and now deputy leader, arrived in the country's second largest city, Kandahar, from Doha, Qatar, where he spent months leading talks with the United States and then Afghan peace negotiators. Washington wants to complete the exodus before its August 31st withdrawal deadline, as illustrated by its hasty evacuation operation. Marking another striking development, Biden administration froze about $9.5 billion of the Afghan government's reserves in the US banks on Sunday, first reported by the Washington Post on Tuesday. According to the report, the US State Department was consulted before the action, as was the White House, adding that the Biden administration was contemplating other actions as well as to pressure the Taliban. Earlier, US reached out to Pakistan and half a dozen countries it believes can influence the situation in Afghanistan, whereby Pakistan assured US of its continued engagement and cooperation over Afghanistan. Moreover, the federal cabinet on Tuesday decided that Pakistan would not take the decision to recognize the Taliban government in Afghanistan unilaterally or bilaterally. Instead, the government would reach out to regional and international powers first. Hence, it's an established reality that Pakistan's stance was tried as the only situation to Afghan quagmire was political instead of utilizing indiscriminate military power.
And to talk more about the latest developments as far as Afghanistan is concerned, we've been joined by Brigadier Retired Amjad Ali. He is a senior analyst. Brigadier Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Sir, when you see what the latest developments are happening, let's begin with the statements of the Taliban spokesperson, where they vow to pardon rivals and also say that the women can continue working in the same environment as they were working before. We also saw that a woman came back on the news, on Tolo News, and started reading the news as well. And girls have gone to Herat to school as well. What do you see? Do you feel that the Taliban of 1996 are different from the Taliban of 2021?
Yes, Omar, first of all, thank you very much for having invited me. In fact, in the same channel, 2-3 months back, once we were discussing Afghan issue, I categorically said that these are not those Afghans which we have faced in 1996 and thereafter. Their mindset is totally changed, and one of the interviews by one of the Afghan representative on all the national media, on our national media, said that we have now learned the diplomacy and we have learned how to rule. We will not be the same if at all we come in power again in Afghanistan. Our attitude will be totally different. We know that what is the statecraft, and we will go accordingly, and we will now rule this state as per the norms, customs, manners of ruling a state. So, Alhamdulillah, after now 2-3 months, you must have seen that once now they have captured Afghanistan, and these statements which you just said are coming up. These are reflecting the same thing. Their attitude towards the women, their attitude towards the humanity, their attitude towards the norms, customs, their attitude towards the ruling a state, their attitude towards the diplomatic systems, that has totally been changed. And they have categorically said that let us not interfere with us, that how we'll rule our land. We will not interfere, neither we are interested in interfering with anybody or any state.
There's another very important statement that they gave, that was that they will not let anyone, any country use their soil against any neighboring country. And that, of course, reflects on what has been happening in Pakistan when the Afghan soil was used by India. Let's put things very blatantly, indirectly, to create disharmony, to create a very unstable situation in our country. Do you feel they will stand by their word?
Yes, they will have to, because this was one of the clause in their agreement in Doha in February, where they said that our land will not be used for any terrorist activity for any neighboring country. As far as these Talibans are concerned, these are quite different Talibans. These are Afghan Talibans. They have nothing to do with the TTP. There are now certain things which are in the offing, and let them get hold of the things, let them get tucked in Afghanistan, and let them decide that how they are going to rule it. Very soon they are going to launch operations with the neighboring countries' borders, especially with our borders, where there are hideouts of TTP, where there are hideouts of Daesh and ISIS, where there are those Indian-funded terrorist Talibans who were supposed to be, proper terrorist organizations, and they were named as these are the Afghan Talibans. They are not those Talibans, and that is what has been investing India in Afghanistan. This was a major blow to India as far as this Afghan, coming back to power is concerned.
Now, speaking of India, the Afghan spokesperson also said that they will let India work in Afghanistan, but not on the condition that they continue interfering in other countries, as has happened in the past. This is a very important statement as well. Now, what about the apprehensions that have been going on across the world, especially in the West, as far as the Afghan Taliban and linking the present with the past is concerned? Do you feel that these apprehensions will also fade away when they will see how these Taliban are working along for peace and stability in Afghanistan?
I opine yes, they will fade away, because Afghans now have fully understood that as far as this region is concerned, Southeast Asia, the center of power lies in the very strength of the geopolitical location of Pakistan. And where now Pakistan has become the center of attention, not only for China, for Russia, for Iran, for Turkey, for other neighboring countries, it has certainly become for the Afghanistan. A peaceful Pakistan will ensure peace in Afghanistan. A peaceful Pakistan will certainly help Afghanistan to prosper and progress, and they fully understand it. They exactly understand it, that they are not in position to take any type of risk, especially with Pakistan, their neighboring countries, or Iran. That's why before coming to Kabul, they had already carried out their homework. They met Chinese, they met Iranians, they met Russians. They even had meeting with the Northern alliances, where there is more of the Shia community, and they have told them that let us work for the peace of this country, let us work for the progress and prosperity of our nation and the human beings. Let us not repeat those mistakes which we have been repeating in the past, and that is the message which they have conveyed to the international community as well.
Yes. All right. Yes. Also, sir, our Information Minister Fawad Chaudhry Sahab said that the recognition of the Taliban regime remains a regional decision. At the same time, when we see other countries and decisions they have taken, whether it be the US that has frozen $9.5 billion US dollars worth of Afghan government's reserves, or Justin Trudeau of Canada, who says that their government is not going to recognize the Afghan Taliban's government. How do you see all these developments as well?
No, see, there are now presently 4 embassies still working in Afghanistan. And that is, I think, clear-cut demarcation of the two blocks now. Unipolarity is almost is at the verge of disaster now. That is Russia, China, Iran and Pakistan. What is happening in the region? Why our Honorable Minister said this? Because now the stratagem is based on the power of brain, not on the muscles.
All right.
And you must have seen, with a lot of technology, with a lot of muscles, with a lot of money, with a lot of weaponry, what could America do in Afghanistan? They could not. It was
Trillions of dollars spent.
Trillions of dollars. And this is the power of the brain, where the grand strategy was formulated. It was carved in a very, very careful manner by those who are sitting in the helm of the affairs. And necessarily, I give this credit to our present government, or maybe to some when it was started working. And top brass in the armed forces, those who were just sitting their head joints, and they were carving that strategy where they should be now very, very careful and prudent, because this is a country which has now I'm talking about our own country, Pakistan, which has gone through all types of warfare and very successfully blunted, including the hybrid warfare. You must have all types of disinformation which has been by our enemy has been launched on us. Why it is said that let us see what is happening in the region overall or in the world, thereafter we will recognize. In the heart of the heart, I personally feel, this is my opinion, that we recognize Taliban.
All right.
Because this was a major role played by Pakistan, who brought America and Afghanistan on Taliban on table, and they had carved out a way forward as far as their political system is concerned or their warlords are concerned.
All right. Now let's also talk about the latest developments as far as the Pakistani hierarchy in the government is concerned. Our Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has had telephonic conversations with many of his counterparts. Of recent, the Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who he has told that Pakistan is making efforts to build a regional consensus on its neighboring country, that is Afghanistan. Then our Prime Minister has talked to Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, as well as Boris Johnson, the British Prime Minister, as well as other international leaders of the same stature as his. Now, what kind of things are going on in your point of view in the world leaders, because there have been so many telephonic conversations being made to Pakistan in the last few days? Is there any apprehension as far as the world body is concerned about Afghanistan, that they want Pakistan to have a stronger role? Do they feel that Pakistan is now that country that can play a very, very important role in the next few months?
They realize that Pakistan is that country which will not only play, it has already played. And it will keep playing a very important role as far as the peace in the region is concerned, especially with regards to Afghanistan. That is the reason you must have seen that neither Joe Biden has spoken to any of the world leader, nor any other leader has spoken to. And every leader called our Prime Minister, and what all they have been said, I said these are those concerns, two types of concern. Basically, first concern is that are we really cognizant of the whole situation, what is going around us? We are, because we are not now. This working might have started 4 or 5 years back. Once we start to develop or formulate a strategy, and that too at a grand level strategy, then it's not a matter of days, it takes a lot of time.
All right.
Secondly, I'm sure they must have been concerned about this, that if something now goes wrong in Afghanistan, what will be the role of Pakistan? And I am sure, again, I opine this is my personal opinion, that all the world leaders, they must have been given a complete contents that absolutely no worries, the things will be controlled. You see, just I'll take a few seconds to unfolding the events which had started taking place a few years back. Securing our western border was the major point which had a lot of hindrances, lot of impediments, but we successfully did it.
All right.
After having secured it, you must have seen that the things started changing. What was the reason? Because we exactly know that anything going wrong in Afghanistan hereafter, the major fallout will come towards the Pakistan. And this time we will not tolerate it. I don't think so. And our agencies, I'm sure, our armed forces, our government, they are just sitting their eyes open.
There also have been a lot of evacuations as far as the diplomatic staff is concerned, a lot of journalists are concerned. Pakistan's role has also been very prominent in giving them either transit visas or visas to enter the country or visas to transit to other countries. And of course, Sheikh Rashid Ahmed Saab also pointed that out during a media briefing today. How important do you feel that is also for the international community to rest assured that Pakistan is there for them?
Yes, the international community perhaps wanted us to do this operation, to go into the Afghanistan and get their people rescued, which was not appropriate. However, I feel that our government, our agencies were totally in touch with the Taliban, and you see, Taliban did not interfere in anything. Those people who were trying to rush towards that Kabul airport from where they were fleeing, these are those people who were, when America was there, they were loyal to them. And they started to have certain insecurities in their mind. Therefore, they started to misbehave. And they were also not fired upon by the Taliban. They were not stopped by the Taliban. No absolutely interference. I think here also Pakistan played a very major role, and those casualties which have occurred because of the Americans, they are also have been warned, just relax. And after that, you must have seen that 80% of the diplomats, 80% of those foreign envoys which were working there, they were successfully evacuated.
All right, sir. Also, Mullah Baradar, who's the Taliban's deputy leader, he's reached Kabul from Doha as well, where he was there since some time. Now, do you feel some major changes are going to happen as far as the emergence of some kind of government is concerned? Will there be elections? What do you foresee in the next months?
I don't foresee any elections. In fact, the international community wants that there should be elections, there should be a political system, there should be a democratic system. However, with whom they will contest for the elections? The Ashraf Ghani and Hamid Karzai and the complete group, that gang of those, I must say that those who were really might not be very sincere to their country, they have fled away. They are not there. My personal view is that there should be a broad-based ethnic, multi-ethnic systems in the government that can address the complete, all the groups who are there, or all types of people who are there in Afghanistan. They can address their issues and their problems. But I'm sure that they'll have sooner or later their sit on table, they'll discuss it, and after that they'll go for that.
All right. And finally, sir, you talked of Ashraf Ghani. Now, a lot of labels are being put on him because the Russians allege that he fled the country with a plane full of money. And of course, even people who were loyal to his government are not happy at all. Do you see any future for the Ashraf Ghani government?
Future which such type of people have had in our past political history. He'll going for the political asylum somewhere in Europe or in America, and rest of his life will be there. This is the type of faith who have never, those people who are not loyal to their nations, those people who have been traitors, those people who have been inhuman with the human beings when God has given them power, they ultimately end up with such type of fate.
All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier Amjad Ali Saab, to have talked to us, of course, of all the different kinds of angles to the latest developments in Afghanistan. And we hope and we pray that peace, stability and progress finally is achieved in our neighboring country. And Pakistan, inshallah, will continue playing that pivotal role that it has been playing in the past as well. Thank you very much, sir. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's come to our, before we end, I'd like to say a little few words about the incident that was shown on social media about what happened at the Minar-e-Pakistan, in which, of course, we saw in that how a woman was vandalized by a group of 300 plus men at the Minar-e-Pakistan, that too on the day of Pakistan's independence. Now, this video, we will not be showing it to you because, of course, it is extremely sensitive. But what kind of questions emanate from it? Are we teaching our kids the right information? Are we teaching them to respect our women? Are our law enforcement agencies need to get more strict as far as laws and the different implications of such incidents are concerned, because in the last few months we've seen a lot of incidents that have happened as far as the women folk are concerned. What is the role of us as members of the society? Is it a time of self-accountability as well for all of us, not just those in power, but also us, the normal human beings? It's time for all of us to reflect on what is happening in our country as far as the women folk is concerned, what is happening and what we need to do to make that change. Of course, we have seen the rebuttals that have come, and the media is full of those rebuttals as to what is happening, whether it be the Governor Punjab, whether it be the spokesperson of the Punjab government. They have all said that the perpetrators and the culprits will be brought to justice at the very earliest, and of course a lot of celebrities have also talked about it. But it's much beyond that. You know, it's something that we as members of the society need to reflect upon and bring that change. Till we do not bring that change, till that change does not come from within us, we can never become a better society. Allah Hafiz.